Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Thursday. It's an overreaction Thursday coming after Atlanta United's scoreless draw with Orlando City last night at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We'll get into all of your reactions, over, under, on par, any other adjectives you want to use. We'll get into all that this morning. We'll get into the rest of the MLS results from last night as well, and anything else on your mind. You had Mexico and the Netherlands yesterday. Tata Martino got the win over Frank de Boer. You've got World Cup qualifiers in South America today. Argentina plays this evening. You can watch those on Fanati's. You do have to pay for them separately. It is a pay-per-view situation. Whoever bought the rights to this one, I don't know. We'll see how they end up making money from it. I talked to the guys at Fanati's about this a little bit because they're limited in what they can charge. It's kind of like the old... You guys who have watched games for a long period of time and gone places to watch it, it's like the old FA Cup stuff that I think Setanta had the rights to, where they do closed circuit, and if you wanted to go watch it at the brew house, for example, everybody had to pay a cover charge. Like you had to pay $10 or you had to pay $15 or whatever it was. That's where Fanati's is stuck with this right now. What they were able to do was package it with 3 months of their service and put, if you're an Argentina fan, for example, and you want to watch both of the Argentina games in this window, you'd get a discount by buying both and packaging it with service. So they're trying to find the best thing they can do, but there's only so much they can do because of what they have to pay the people who have the rights to it. Little surprised it went down this way, but that's all we got. So those games start tonight. There's 2 more tomorrow, and then everybody plays on Tuesday of next week. So we've got plenty to get into. I would like to start with, John, what were your thoughts on last night's match at the Benz? Because there's been a lot of different opinions on this match. I just want to know what people think because I don't know. I feel like I might have watched something different.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a well-earned point. I thought it was I thought that there were times in the match last night where Atlanta United was in control of the ball, in control of pace and what they wanted to do with it. There were just opportunities that were just close calls one way or the other that weren't converted. A pass that was a little ahead of one player or another. Brooks Lennon to Adam John comes into mind as one of those elements. Looking at individual performances, I thought obviously that Brad came up big in a couple of moments last night, and I thought Franco Escobar had a tremendous match. I liked what I saw out of Mo Adams from when he starts on one side, goes to the other side. I liked how his play went last night. Loved what I saw from Brooks Lennon. Again, the cyborg continues to add to what we've seen from him. Liked what I saw from Adam John last night. Liked what I saw from Emerson Hyndman last night, working in the middle, and Jeff Larentowicz. Basically, I could sit here and go down the line with the starting 11 and sit there and say, liked what I saw here, liked what I saw here, liked what I saw here. I thought it was a well-earned point, and it was a point that has been made, and we made it yesterday, even before the match was played. Just because something is a goalless draw doesn't mean that it's boring. This was not a boring match to me. It had moments all the way through in 90 minutes, and I thought it was the right result for both sides. Orlando had their moments as well. Atlanta had their moments, but I thought it was a just result getting a draw out of this.
Yeah, no, I think it was a just result. I mean, there's a lot of different layers to it. Michael Ruiz in the Twitch pitch was with Doug and with, I think, a lot of people last night and saying that it was a boring game. Mm-hmm. I didn't get the sense of boring at all. I got nothing on boring with this. I thought it was a pretty open game, and there were a lot of chances in it. Orlando had a few more of the chances. That's accurate. Brad Kazan had a huge night, and he needed one because it had been a little while since he had a night like this. He hasn't seen that many shots that he's had to save in quite a while, which is another thing that I think maybe has been twisted a little bit. I don't know. Yes, Ragamuffin, John did crap on a scoreless draw yesterday. That is accurate. Good job calling him out.
On the timeliness factor of talking about a scoreless draw.
No, you were crapping on the draw. You tried to shift it. You pulled the vice presidential debate move by trying to shift the topic. That's a good one. But you were crapping on the scoreless draw. You were.
Didn't have a fly in my hair.
You did not. But you also did not effectively change the topic.
Pitcher's duel is the next guy.
Well, you weren't of a scoreless draw yesterday, but now you are, so that's good. Maybe you've learned a little something in the last 24 hours. This is a good thing. Look, I mean, that's the thing about games. Everybody looks at them differently. You know, that's the thing about the sport. There's things that certain people enjoy about it, and there's things that other people will look at that same thing and say that's garbage. That's the thing about it. Michael Ruiz points out the XG, 0.7 to 1.1. I mean, if I don't have XG during the game, and it depends on which XG you're looking at too, because there's different ones. But if we're going to judge games by XG, that's fine. That's cool. I was not bored. I was entertained during the match last night. I hope that people who were listening to us on radio were entertained. I don't know. I can't guarantee anything for you guys. There's a lot of different topics here, because if people find the game boring or not boring, okay, that's a whole different conversation. Did you feel like Atlanta played poorly in that? Because I don't think they did. I think Orlando was good, but I think Atlanta had control of the match in long stretches. I don't know. Everybody has different opinions, so we want to hear the opinions. And just because we disagree doesn't mean you're wrong, we're right. I want to make that clear, because I don't know why that's the accepted discourse when it comes to the sport. And maybe so much in this city, and it's really frustrating. It's okay to think differently. It's cool. I'm going to go back and forth with Michael about XG and about was it boring or passing or what have you, but I'm not going to say that Michael's wrong and I'm right and rawr. I mean, that's a pointless thing to do, because this game is very open to interpretation. That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
it's all good. And I think you guys who listen know that, and I wish that was more of the conversation about everything, but especially about this sport, because I'm not going to dictate to you how to feel. I'm just going to tell you how I feel, and if you disagree, that's completely cool. The thing about Adam John and the no call at the end of the first half, it was really quick, which I thought was strange. We got a replay in our booth very quickly, and it was the Fox feed, so I'm sure you guys who were watching on TV saw it too, before the corner was taken, of Brian Rowe sliding into the back of Adam John.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did. Like, I don't know what else to say. He did. It happened. And the argument, I guess, is what was said, because I believe Joe Patrick was the pool reporter on site last night and submitted a question to Rubiel Vasquez about that decision. What did you see on the play? Vasquez said minimal contact to John, who was already going down, that did not rise to the level of a penalty kick. And then what did the VAR communicate to you? And he just said the VAR check completed the incident. So the VAR, I'm assuming, would have agreed, but that's not a definite because of the wording here. The VAR, the video assistant referee person, could have said, hey, you should go look at this, and Vasquez could have said, no, I saw it. He was already going down. It's not a penalty. I disagree with that. I just disagree with that. It's open to interpretation. It's one that you're not going to see or hear from again outside of a sponsored element on MLS social media, and it'll be something that'll be debated. You'll get probably 50-50 on what people think about it, depending on how you feel about Atlanta United or how you feel about Adam John or what you think about the situation. I thought it was a penalty, and it added to everything else we've seen this season. It's very frustrating. I don't know anything else on that.
No, I'm right there with you. I was in front of one of the monitors in the press box, and we had the Fox feed in front of us also, and it was that quick return that you saw, and for me, I thought it was a penalty, and I once again I looked at what Joe had submitted to Rubio Vasquez last night, and I'm like, okay, but yeah, so yeah, that was the call, and it's disappointing, obviously, that it was called the way that it was, but I thought it was a penalty.
Yeah, it's not in the MLS highlights on their website. No massive shock there. Might want to leave anything out that's controversial. Christopher Abel says Pro needs to acknowledge the error and punish the referee. I mean, it's a judgment. It's a judgment call, and the way Vasquez explains it, he's making it a true judgment call. He's not saying I didn't see the contact or there was no contact, because then you could come back and say, well, duh, here it is. He's saying it wasn't enough for a penalty. I disagree with that totally, but you're making it a judgment call, so I don't think they'll do it. I really, truly don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll go back on it. Michael Ruiz on just discourse in general. So many nuances in soccer, and I think that's why we love it. My friends and I have had so many disagreements over the years on players from the USMNT and Atlanta United. It's all good. The only take I have is that no one can change my mind is that Jonathan Bornstein should have never stepped on the field for the U.S. men's national team. Come at me, bro, with the hot takes. I'll come at you, bro, with the hot takes. Jonathan Bornstein. I'll tell you a funny story about Bornstein. So my program director at Soccer in the Streets, this was during the qualification for 2010. So it was 2009. He's from Costa Rica. He had connections with the Costa Rican Federation. Also coached the Silverbacks Reserves, was an assistant with the Silverbacks, Ricardo Montoya. And he put together a scouting report by request for the Costa Rican Federation for that game, the last game of the qualification process. And he asked me to help. And I told him I would not help him until the U.S. had qualified, until they had clinched qualification. If they had clinched qualification by the time they played Costa Rica in that game, then I would help him. I would sit down with it as well and give him whatever I thought about it. So the U.S. clinched, I think, the game before. They'd already clinched by the time that game was going to be played. It was the one at RFK. And so I sat down with the report that he'd already worked on. I gave my thoughts on it. One thing that we both agreed on, because Bornstein was playing for the national team at that time, he was playing as a left back, he was scoring goals. We said that you have to be careful of Jonathan Bornstein cutting inside and going to goal. You have to be careful of him inside the 18. He played as an attacker in college. He can hurt you going to goal, and a lot of times people lose him because he's coming from the outside. He has to be marked. And they got their scouting report, and they did not pay any attention to it. Someone with the Federation had requested it. The coach at the time did not think it was needed. He wanted to use his own scouting reports. And what took Costa Rica out of a qualification spot and into the playoff? A Jonathan Bornstein goal late. So we kind of enjoyed that one a little bit. We got a good laugh out of it because we tried to tell them, but, they didn't want to pay attention. So there's your Jonathan Bornstein story. Michael Ruiz, I will come at you, bro, about that one. Yeah, I mean, he was good at the time. I'm impressed he's still going today and still contributing in Chicago. So good for him. Good for Jonathan Bornstein. What else we got?
Now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got on the Twitch. I guess some people are having some problems. Uncle No Pockets was having some problems getting the audio-video feed up on Twitch, but is getting the chat. I do not know why that's the case. Maybe refresh browsers and such. Also, if you're looking for just the audio or the video, but you still want the Twitch Pitch chat function, you can pull up our app, the Soccer Down Here app on Android or iOS. You can also listen on soccerdownhere.net. And then you can watch and listen on the Twitch Pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. That's how you can contribute on an Overreaction Thursday. Kevsey says if there's a narrative from yesterday I don't like is that it's an unreviewed offside PK that people drawing final answers on comparing former Atlanta United coaches. Yeah, you're not getting any answers out of a game where Frank DeBoer said, "I'm not playing my first choice." Out of a friendly, that's the first time he's had the group and maybe had one training session. You're not getting any answers out of that. The commentators definitely wanted to draw some answers out of it, but when you go back and you think of all the things Alejandro Moreno has said about Frank DeBoer, you're not surprised.
No.
He didn't like the hire from the beginning, and he's been consistent. He's been absolutely consistent on it. I thought maybe it was a little overdone yesterday because it didn't really have anything to do with the game in front of them, but whatever, that's fine. We'll see. We'll see for Frank. It's not the way you want to start. It's not the way you want to start with a home loss, but I think Mexico's a better team than they get credit for as well, and I think they always have been, but they're not looked at the same way in Europe or playing European countries, and they should be. For some reason, the U.S. gets more credit playing European countries than Mexico, and I don't think that should be the case. I think Mexico's a really strong team that can beat top teams, and they beat a good team yesterday in the Netherlands, but it was a friendly. The Netherlands has competitive matches coming up. They were resting players. We'll see how they do in these next two, and if it doesn't go well there, then you're going to have conversations about Frank DeBoer, and you're going to have a lot of smoke billowing out of different people's ears, and we'll see where that goes. But this game, I don't think changes anything. We'll see what happens. Matt Wagner with an oddball question. Are you and Conti and the rest of the media required to test since you go into the bins? We are not, because we are limited to spaces away from people who are testing regularly. If we were going to go down on the field, inside the field level area, we would have to test. So you'll notice that the AT&T countdown to kickoff is being shot, at least, my part, I'm at home because I'm producing it right now. The reason I'm producing it right now is because the digital team members are tier 1. They are with the team so they can get the video, get pictures, travel with the team, et cetera, et cetera. They can't come up to us to film it like we've always done. We can't go down to them. So we have to do it separately now, and that's because we're not testing. So if we were going to be in that area, we would have to, but we're not. So we're not. That's where we're at.
Yeah, usually for access to the press box that we hang out in, it is a questionnaire that is submitted a day or so ahead of time. You answer the questions, and you're given a QR code for having completed the questionnaire. When you walk up to Mercedes-Benz, you flash the QR code to a card reader. They take your temperature. If you're within the acceptable ranges, having completed the questionnaire with the QR code, then you're granted access to your tier only, not to all parts of the building previously.
Yeah. Shiva, I got to correct something in your question here. Shiva said that I told Doug yesterday on Southern Fried Soccer that if Barco doesn't play on Saturday, I'd be surprised. Doug asked if I'd be surprised if he didn't play the rest of the season, or if maybe I completely misunderstood. That's what I heard. That's what I thought he said. Saturday, I have no idea. Shiva said, do you think in that case his injury is worse than what they say it is? Well, they haven't said what it is, so we don't know. One thing that maybe it's causing a lot of confusion, but it's been talked about before. It's been talked about nationally before. I don't know if it just hasn't been picked up on. I don't know. Injury reports are cut and dried right now, and there's probably a lot of reasons for this. There's probably a lot of COVID-related reasons for this. You are either medically cleared to play or medically uncleared to play. That's it. There's no questionable, there's no possible, there's no probable, there's no any other grades of anything. It is, you're medically cleared, you're not medically cleared. So, not medically cleared is obvious. You can't play. Medically cleared but not playing is where your questionables, probables, possibles, 60%, 75%, any of those types of terminologies. You can be medically cleared to play but not play. So that's one thing that I think people have missed. I don't know the reasoning behind it. MLS didn't make an announcement, but this is nationwide. This is across the league. This is not an Atlanta thing. It is medically cleared, medically uncleared. I would assume that there's a big part of that due to players who would test positive for COVID. Or have contact tracing where they can't play. They're not medically cleared to play. You have to be careful with that sort of stuff. And I'm assuming that's why the injury designations have changed. That's also given teams the ability to keep things quiet. They haven't had to go into detail about Ezequiel Barco's injury because he's been medically cleared because he's been training, but not training consistently enough to play. I don't know what the injury is, so I can't tell you if it's more serious or not. They haven't said anything, so there's not a grade if it's more serious than what they've said. I do think he'll play at some point the rest of the season. I hope it's really soon. I hope it's Saturday. I really do. But this has turned into so much speculation and so many rumors that, look, I don't know what to do to change it at this point. Until he plays, I don't think people are going to be satisfied because even if, and there's not even an even if, they've been very clear. They just haven't said it's an ankle, it's a knee, it's a calf, it's a quad, it's a hamstring. They haven't said that. But they've said he's returned to training. He's had setbacks. He's had to step back from training. He's had to go do modified sessions. He's had to go back and forth. He hasn't been able to train consistently and feel good about it. That's where it's at. He was at the stadium yesterday. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the latest conspiracy theory is. So I don't know what to say about it, but it's gotten weird, and I don't know what else to do with it, to be perfectly honest. Let's see. Ragamuffin says, so when Twitter says your countdown to kickoff is live, it isn't actually live. Is this live? What is real anymore? This is live.
Yes.
That we wish could be live. It can't be live. It's impossible to be live. It is as close to live as it can possibly be, so I can get to the stadium after producing it.
Live on tape.
Yeah, live on tape. Welcome to COVID. There's no editing of it. It is done live because I've not upped my editing techniques to be able to do it. Where we've had a mistake, we've had to redo it and start over, which is not fun. But that's where we're at right now. And I wish we could do things differently, but like yesterday, for example, my day was getting that done once we had everything ready to go. Oh, and my day before that was the show in the morning, stoppage time at noon. So 9 to 11, stoppage time at noon. Finished at 1:20 hit with the midday show. Then actually had a little bit of time, watched some of the Netherlands and Mexico. Then got ready. Then did countdown to kickoff once we had all the pieces in place. Then shipped that so it could be ready to roll. Then did a 540 hit with SiriusXM FC with Brian Dunseth and Janusz Mihalik. Halfway on my way to the stadium because I wasn't able to get all the way to the stadium after doing countdown to kickoff and getting it sent. So I had to stop halfway, pull over in a parking lot, talk to Dunny and Janusz, then drive the rest of the way, pull into the stadium parking lot at about 6:10, and we were on the air at 6:30. So luckily I didn't have to go into the cooling tent. My temperature wasn't too high from running around, and I was able to go straight in after the temperature check and all the different things for security and get inside, and I sat down in the booth at 6:20, and we were on at 6:30. And that's not ideal.
Then you went from 6:30 to 10.
Well, yeah, 6:30 to 10, and then went back to the car and did Southern Fried Soccer with Doug, and started driving home at about 10:50 or so. So yeah, it's craziness right now.
Get home about 11:15. Back up and running. Oh, did you have your beverage of choice ready to go when you got home?
I had a beer and then was ready to go to sleep. That was pretty much it.
Just checking.
Yeah,
because I know that you had planned to have your a beer and then then you were done. Nothing late night. None of the MLS After Dark out west.
Nah, I just kept an eye on what was going on and saw Portland and the Galaxy keep scoring goals, and I'm like, I'm not getting sucked into this madness. I want no part of it. But that's where we're at right now. That's where it gets crazy, and you just have to kind of figure things out. So we do what we can do. Burned says, Healy and Moreno were atrocious yesterday. Completely missed the plot. Also, I think FDB was asked by the Dutch Federation to continue Coleman's approach. Example, the assistant coaches are Coleman's, the 4-2-3-1, etc. It seemed the assistant was more involved in managing the game than FDB, inexcusably ignorant and unprepared by Moreno. He didn't like the hire with FDB here at all, and I thought was way over the top with it. He's been consistent. I'll give him that. I like Alejandro Moreno as a pundit. I love his energy. I love what he brings to the table in general. I've disagreed with his takes on Frank de Boer completely, and I would tend to agree with what Bernd is saying. I think there's a lot more to it than just, oh, well, see, they didn't win. He just walked in the door.
Yeah.
And it's not his staff. You don't have a bunch of training sessions with the national team. So, yeah, you're going to be leaning on what's worked before, and you're going to be leaning on the people who have been there, and you're getting to know the group. So, and you're not playing your first choice either. So you're already, trying to figure things out with a different group. It is what it is. It was turning into a referendum at times yesterday, which I thought was a little silly, and some of the comments afterwards I thought were a little silly.
Yeah, I just, there's... I love Ali, and anytime I get to shout "Vamos Venezuela," I'll do that just because I love the energy that he brings. But in a situation like this, it's like you're trying to hammer the same point home that you've been hammering before, and your context is different. It doesn't apply in this case. And since I didn't get the chance, I was in studio yesterday myself. I didn't get the chance to see it, but if this is the road that Ali went down, it's disappointing that he would continue to do that for an out-of-context situation.
Well, no, it's consistent. I mean, that's the thing, and it's just like we were saying earlier, like I disagree with it. I would disagree and have a conversation with him about disagreeing, and that's completely fine. It doesn't mean I don't think he knows what he's talking about. It doesn't mean any of that. It's just we disagree on this topic. Yeah. I do agree with Byrne here on this, that I think there's more to it than just, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing with his group. He doesn't. It's not his group yet. He just got there.
He just walked in the door.
So give that a little bit of time, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, it's a friendly. I don't think it's really all that meaningful. Mm-hmm. Mazzano and Abby are worried about Mike. They think he needs Valium after the match last night due to the missed calls. We were both a little fired up on the one with John, especially with the replay of it coming so quick. I guess my voice cracked. I did not know that it did. I was fired up just because it's been so many things that we've seen with this situation with the Brooks Lennon getting kicked in the head. Pro came back and said that should have been a penalty and should have been a red card. The Figal one that was given the penalty but not given the red card. The Emil Assad one's a little different, but all of it, there's questioning and not a lot of trust in what's going on with this stuff, and it needs to change. But that's a judgment call. It is, and some refs are going to give it and some refs aren't. I think far more refs give it. I do. I do think they got it wrong. And again, it would have changed the result of the match. If you had a 1-0 lead there going into halftime, it's going to be a different second half. It is. More questions from the Twitch pitch. Clayton Poss said, all of this doesn't hurt anyone worse than Barco. I don't think he's sitting out because all of a sudden he doesn't like Atlanta United. I agree. There's no gain for him to sit out. That's why I don't understand that conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theories only work if there's some logic to them.
Yeah.
Because then you can say, oh, yeah, I get that. There's no gain for him to say, I don't want to play. I don't think there's anything to be gained from it because, the clubs that had expressed an interest, they can't buy him now anyway. An offer never seemed to materialize that would have been worth getting to the next point because there was no more conversation after the beginning of September in the international media about it. So it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense because his value is not going to go up by not playing. So I don't know. I don't understand that conspiracy theory. The most logical answer to this is he is injured, and he hasn't been able to train consistently, and they're not going to risk him, which they've said about many players. They're not going to risk him if there's a concern of him getting hurt worse. And if he's not able to train day after day after day, he could get hurt. That's the logical answer. Even if you don't know if it's the right knee, right ankle, left ankle, quad, hamstring, whatever, hip, shoulder, I don't know, you can pick whatever body part you want. Even if you don't know what the body part is, the logical answer is that he hasn't been able to train consistently, so he can't play because they're not going to risk a young, talented player's future health. That's the logical answer. Everything else maybe is more fun, but it doesn't make any sense. Mezzano says, did anyone else catch Dan Gargan on the TV broadcast calling George Bello Georgie? I kept having flashbacks to watching it.
Oh, no.
He's been called Georgie within the team for a long time. Tony Annan will call him Georgie because he's coached him for a long time. A lot of the staff call him Georgie because that's what he's known by around the team. So, I mean, he's little George. He's Georgie. That's what he's known. Good stuff. But hopefully you weren't having bad flashbacks. I hope not. That's not good. Come on, Mezzano. No nightmares.
No nightmares. No it when it comes to George Bello references.
No nightmares. Colonel said the 540 hit was some of my best work. Thanks, Colonel. It's easy with Dunny and with Janusz.
Yeah.
Two guys that I've known for a little while now, and two guys who get it. And they're getting it from a national perspective. So they were asking some questions that we've talked about here on the local side, but they were asking questions from a national perspective that were really good. I mean, those are two of the best. So it's always fun to talk soccer with them and bounce back and forth. Dunny's awesome. Dunny's somebody that, I listen to him and listen to the way he calls a game, and I try to be as entertaining as he can be while being informative. And Janusz is so good in both radio and TV. He does a lot of fill-in stuff with NYC on both sides, and he'll do stuff with everybody. He's excellent. They're both excellent. So I was really happy when I got the invite to be on with them, and it was Dunny who's usually there. And Tony Miola is great as well. Tony's always fun. But Janusz I don't get to talk to on a regular basis. We talked for, it felt like about an hour last year when we were at Yankee Stadium because he was on the game for
Yes.
He was on the TV side for Yes last. No, he wasn't. No, he's on the radio side. He was on the radio because Ian was there on TV. And man, Mike and I talked to Janusz for seriously like an hour. It's like, okay, we got to get ready to go on the air because our pregame was getting started, but we could have kept talking forever. Really good stuff. Burns says the reason Barco's not on the injury report is that it forces opponents to prepare for him, which I would agree. He says, although I don't think opponents do too much of that anymore anyway after 4 games of the same approach. Maybe, I don't know, but it is in the back of your mind. You do have to have that as part of your preparation that he could play. And I think he's very close to playing. I think he's been very close to playing. If he's able to train, he's very close. But if he's having setbacks after training, you have to pull him back. And that's what stinks. Matt Wagner hit the moderator block. I don't know, Matt. I don't know what you did. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Dude.
What do we have on the Twitters? Because we have not hit the Twitters as of yet.
No, we have not. Chris Hutchison says 2020 is being happy to get a point when playing Orlando in your own stadium.
I mean, yeah, it's a different Orlando, though. That's the biggest difference for me. It's not just that Atlanta has had a rough year. It's that Orlando's not the same team anymore. Orlando's going to be a team to worry about as long as Oscar Pareja's there. He's one of the best. There's just no way around it for me. They still need to upgrade the roster a little bit more. They still need to get better. But, they're not going anywhere. So I look at that far less as 2020 is crazy and, Atlanta's having a bad year as, look, Orlando's just real now.
Orlando's better.
They finally have a plan.
Yep. Stizzle A, whose avatar is the Lansing Common Football Club crest. So, full credit to Stizzle. Stizzley says, what a gritty point earned. The defense held their ground against a much improved Orlando squad. The offense needs something more, but for now, I'll take it. Hashtag Thursday Thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you created chances last night. So, I mean, the offense always needs more when it doesn't score. It always needs more without Joseph Martinez. But you did have 3 shots on target, which is just below the average. I think the average in the league for shots on target in a game is like 3.5, 3.75, somewhere in that ballpark. So you're just below that. You had 9 shots in total. Chances created, let's take a look and see how they scored that. Because I don't remember that number off the top of my head in terms of key passes. Because it felt like there were a good number of them, but maybe I am misremembering this. Key passes, not as many as I thought. 6. So 6 chances created, 9 shots, 3 on target. Little below where you'd want to be. I'll give Orlando credit for some of that, for sure. But, yeah, you want a little bit more. Gritty is fine. I think that's a safe way to describe it. But it wasn't gritty in the sense that you were hanging on.
Right.
It was gritty in the sense that I think it was gritty for both teams just because it was a hard-fought game. I thought it was played at a good pace. I thought Orlando was very organized and made it difficult for Atlanta to build out of the back. I thought Atlanta, when they got past the first line of pressure, was able to take advantage of Orlando's midfield and then start to work a little bit, but it was very hard to do so. Orlando shifting from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-4-2 when they were pressing and defending caused Atlanta some problems because the way the rotation worked, it was Andres Perea who stepped up high and Benji Michel kind of tucked in as a right winger in a 4-4-2 when they were defending, but he would look for his spots to jump up and jump the lines and flip it to a 4-3-3. He was the wild card in it in the first half. I thought when Orlando made their changes and brought on Mueller and brought on Nani, they actually got worse for a pretty long while because then Atlanta was able to build out of the back and control the game. They didn't get the goal to show for it, and then once Mueller and Nani started to get comfortable, Orlando had a good run at the end of the match.
Yeah.
But the sub made it easier for Atlanta to build up play and attack because you didn't have Michel. You didn't have who was the first sub when Mueller came on because that's when it started to break down. No, he came into the back. There were 2 subs made at that time, if I remember right. Why am I forgetting? Oh, Robinho, who was dropping into the midfield, and he'd look for his spots to pinch as well. But when Mueller came on, it changed. When Nani came on, it really changed, and it took Orlando a while to incorporate those 2. The subs destabilized Orlando for me.
Nathan Pugh says, I'm satisfied with a 0-0. That was a good point, and I think the momentum is building for the team. I hope Moreno can add to it and help the team secure playoffs. Also, still haven't seen a video of the John penalty shout, and I don't think I want to.
No.
And freaking go Braves.
Yes, all of the above. Marcelino Moreno, Carlos Bocanegra speaking to the media today at 2 o'clock. So that's a pretty good sign. He'll be active for Saturday. Don't know if he'll jump straight into the lineup. I think he can. I think coming off of 2 games in a short period of time, you want fresh legs. He's going to be fit. He's not going to be sharp because he hasn't played since the beginning of March, but he's going to be fit. He's going to be able to take part, and I think he'll be able to start if he needs to. The penalty shot we've talked about a ton. In terms of it coming together, it's 3 clean sheets in 4. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. And when we've talked about the issues for this team so often, and we have talking about consistency since we were talking about Alejandro Moreno earlier, consistency is key here because what were we shouting about for so long? Mistakes, set pieces, conceding goals early. If you don't do that, you'll find results. They found a result. When you're not giving up that early goal, this team is finding results. And I thought they controlled more of the game last night than Orlando did. Orlando had the better chances and more of them, but I think Atlanta controlled more of the match. When Orlando was able to break, that's where they gave Atlanta some problems. But it was a really for me, a really well-played match. I was thoroughly entertained by it, and not just because I was yelling about it the whole time. Like, I thought it was just a good match with good pace, with two teams that had somewhat similar ideas but different twists on it, and it just made for a good matchup.
Some of the points from Daniel Price we've already talked about, but I'll go through what he says. He says, I'll be brief. That's a pen, that's a pen, that's a pen, that's a pen, that's a pen.
Mm-hmm.
Why no review? Why no VAR? Why no anything? Are we the Prem now? In this instance, it was a game-deciding decision since it ended as a draw. Hashtag overreaction Thursday.
The biggest thing to understand with VAR, and I think this gets twisted at times, every situation gets looked at in the video assistant referee booth. So that situation was looked at. There's no question about that. The Prem situation with VAR last year, which is not the case now, was that referees were instructed not to go to the monitor, to go take a second look at things. It was the VAR convinces them they got it wrong, or that's it. That's changed now, so we can leave that to the side. We don't have a way to know what the conversation was. And this is where blaming VAR as a system, there's nothing to do with it. Blaming VAR as a person, because it's a person, it's the video assistant referee, we don't know if they're to blame either, because the center referee makes the decision. That could have happened where the video assistant referee got the replay and said, I think you made a clear and obvious error on that situation. He came into him from behind and tripped him. And I recommend, and I'll send it down to you if you want to take a look at it, I recommend you take a look. The center referee could have said, no, I was right there. I got it. There's nothing there. I'm not going. I got it. We're moving on. The VAR could have said, I don't have anything conclusive here. There's nothing to send you. And then you don't go look at it. The VAR could have said, I'm not 100% sure, but I have the video if you want to take a look at it. We don't know any of this. So it's the only person you can truly say did not get the call right if you think it was the wrong call is the referee. That's all we know. Christopher Abel says, I'm no longer allowed to praise referees pre-match. I messed it up and I caused the missed PK. Rubiel Vasquez is one of the best referees in the league. He's one of the best young referees in the league. I like him. I think he did a good job with the match. I think he managed the emotion of the match really well. I think he got that call wrong. That's the one. The Junior Urso Franco Escobar mind games battle that went on for the first 45 and then continued a little bit into the second half. I think Vasquez managed that better than most referees do. He knew that there was a lot of back and forth with those two. He had to show the yellow on Escobar when he did. The yellow and not showing a second one on the Robin Janssen flying ballerina twist was a good decision, even though he was trying to be lobbied to do so. Showing the yellow on Miles Robinson was accurate. He had to. Robinson knew he had to commit that foul at the end. That's going to have him suspended for Saturday due to yellow card accumulation. I can't think of anything else that Vasquez got horribly wrong. I disagree with him on that call. I just don't think his interpretation, the way he explained it to Joe Patrick, who was the pool reporter on site, I don't think it's accurate. It's a judgment call. I think he judged it wrong. Doesn't mean he's a bad referee, though, at all.
Yeah. David, at NotBabyFarkMCG, says, at Franco Escobar is the heart of this team and was man of the match last night. Also, to our previous discussion, also felt the officiating was terrific. Any pins would have been very soft, in my opinion, and an argument could be made for Escobar receiving a second yellow, but they kept the game in control without leaving their footprint on the game, which is what I hope for from refs.
Franco Escobar got a lot of different responses last night from the way people thought about his performance. I thought it was good. I thought he was going to have to be substituted because I thought he was dead tired.
Yeah.
But he found a way to finish it out. I thought he was very good. Again, it's just down to interpretation. I thought Escobar was big, and I thought he's been big for a while for this group. He's really taken on leadership. And I liked his organization multiple times, but there was one It's in the first half or was it in the second? It was in the first half where he was tracking back. Lennon was coming back with him. Mo Adams was shaded over to that side, and he was organizing as he was dropping back. Okay, you take the ball here. You take this runner. I'm going to drop here, and talking to Mo and to Lennon and helping them get positioned correctly and helping the overall group get positioned correctly. I don't remember him doing as much of that in the past. That's been something I've noticed a good bit from him lately. He's really stepping up for this group. I do wonder what you're going to do on Saturday without Miles Robinson if Escobar slides inside and plays centrally and Lennon moves to right back. Maybe some of that is down to if Jürgen Damm can give you a start.
Yeah. Jeremy York and our friends at Impact are in this morning for a hashtag on par reaction Thursday. Greetings, guys. United had a solid game where they kept Orlando off the board and stole a point from them as well. Question. And I'll let you finish your drink before I ask this question.
Well, I can listen while I'm drinking vitamin water energy.
Well, I didn't want to spit take here. Does SDH have a disciplinary committee, and how could we get them to take over for the atrocious MLS one? Have a good one, guys.
I want no part of that. No part of it, because I don't want to have to play the politics game with Pro on it, because I'm assuming that's a big part of this. I don't have any other explanation at this point as to why some of these situations have not been cleaned up by the disciplinary committee. I'm thinking it's down to the politics with Pro. Pro doesn't want to admit their referees have gotten a lot of things wrong. It's a hard year for referees, too. It's a difficult year for referees because they're working more games in a shorter period of time. You've got some referees working games that maybe are above their level at the moment. You've had feels like a little bit more controversy this year on the referee side than usual. And I think they're starting to get reluctant to admit mistakes because they were doing it early on, and I don't think the refereeing's gotten better. I don't know if it's gotten worse. I just think it is what it is, and mistakes are being made, and they don't want to admit mistakes. And I don't think that helps make anything better. I think at times the referee community gets way too defensive, and it does not help. It's not knocking them to say they can't be better. It's not knocking them to say that they're worthless or useless or any of the nonsense. It's saying that there are mistakes being made. And I've said consistently that they need more support. They need more development. They need more resources to be developed. There needs to be a development plan. It doesn't need to be that somebody sees a referee working a youth tournament and says, oh, I like the way they manage a game. They're really good. Okay, let's try to start moving them up the ladder. Just like there's coaching education, just like there's player development and player identification, there needs to be the same for referees. It has to be organized. And it has to be different than youth. Because refereeing professionals is a completely different track than refereeing youth. So, to my knowledge, there is no referee professional development track, system, program, nothing. It's random. And then once they get into that, I don't think there's enough support. So I don't think referees have the resources to be as successful as they can be. That's number one. But being defensive and basically acting like they don't make mistakes, that doesn't help. Now, at times people are unfair about referees, and there's plenty of times criticism is just flat out wrong about how situations go down or people not understanding the laws of the game and arguing about something that is inaccurate. That happens too. And I can understand from referees' perspective how that will get you very defensive. Like, oh, they're criticizing me, they don't even know what they're talking about. And that happens. The handball interpretations right now, I mean, people are all over the map because some people aren't even paying attention to the rules changes about it. But that doesn't mean that referees can't be criticized. And in this situation, I would like Pro to come out and either back the referee and say, these are the types of situations, this play where Brian Rowe comes out, doesn't make contact initially, but slides through, makes contact with the attacker, but we feel like it's not enough. The attacker went down too easily, was looking for it, and we're not calling a penalty in that type of situation. Lay it on the table and say that. Because then you'll see other referees call it consistently. Because I can tell you so many different times where the same thing happens, and it's not a lot of contact, but it's enough for the penalty. So be consistent. That's all we want. But by being defensive and not talking about these things, it doesn't help anybody understand what's going to happen next. The tackle on a side, for me, there's no explanation for why that wasn't a red. The forearm, the elbow from Figal to Gallagher, there's no explanation. This one, there's absolutely a debate about it. And if they're feeling clearly that the referee got this right, explain it to us and tell us how you're going to call it the rest of the way. And then it's on to the referees to be consistent. But the defensiveness of we can never be wrong, that's got to stop. That's got to stop because coaches and players get criticized all the time. Referees get criticized too because they're human. They do make mistakes. It's okay. But explain what's happening so we know and we can all talk about it in a more informed way.
KFC is in this morning, and apparently through KFC's FIFA 21, Brad Gazan is still making saves against Orlando to this very moment.
Very nice.
Michael Head says, put me down in the well-played, point well-earned side. Great goal saving by Brad. His distribution was somewhat lacking, however.
It was. He had some poor ones, and that hurt a little bit at times where you gave possession away too cheaply. But shot stopping was outstanding. Outstanding.
Tafka, he says, my 10 and 11s went down 3-0 at halftime. They fought back with 3 unanswered goals to earn the draw. So stinking proud of them for having some major mental toughness! !
That's a good result.
Nathan Pugh, I was definitely entertained listening on the radio. It's more fun and passionate, and I love it. And boom is how he finished.
Yeah, we get kind of crazy sometimes. It happens.
Daniel Price, people wonder why players hit the deck so hard when fouled unnecessarily. This is why you got to sell it, I guess, which is silly. Not so much pointing at this instance, but as a general statement.
Say that one more time. Sorry.
People wonder why players hit the deck so hard when fouled unnecessarily. This is why you got to sell it, I guess, which is silly. Not so much pointing at this instance, I'm guessing the John Rowe, but as a general statement. Yeah,
the first half, Atlanta tried to stay on their feet. I think Heineman did one time. Lennon did one time. They didn't get calls. The second half, I believe it was Lennon at one point who knew contact was coming, had the contact happen, immediately went down, got the call. You do have to find where that line is. But it's frustrating when players are penalized for staying on their feet or trying to stay on their feet, and then the reverse happens where they're actually tripped up and brought down, and it's, they were trying to go down. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to play? And those are hard. Those are hard situations. I think John knew the goalkeeper was coming. I think he knew there was going to be an incident. I don't think he was giving the ball up to draw the contact. I think he was trying to score the goal as well, but he also knew the goalkeeper was coming and leaving his feet. That's what a good forward should do. And I think he drew enough contact to get a penalty.
Okay, I need you to go on our Twitter feed so you can look at a visual to help this out.
Oh, boy.
Well, no, it's PHR out is on the rundown this morning. And looking back at an instance from last night, it's a screen cap of a jersey grab. And it looks like it's Adam John's jersey being grabbed from behind, and it's pretty blatant. It's a full arm extension. And the question from PH is, so what angles do they look at when they review these things? With a question mark.
Give me a second, and I will pull this up so I can get a look. Okay, DeAndre Jackson had it originally.
Right.
The defender pulling John's shirt back at the end of it, and we've talked all about the first part where Rowe makes contact. This was mentioned. We were so hung up on the first one, we didn't even really get into this one on the commentary. It's a shirt grab. There's no way around that. Is that enough to get the penalty? I think the contact from the goalkeeper is more to get the penalty. I think the shirt grab was less, but both bring penalty into question. And when you're in that situation and you're a referee and you see two things that could get the penalty, you're probably going to go penalty there. And that's a little surprising that both were not given it. Just because you grab somebody's shirt doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a foul or it's a penalty or whatever. It's not like some automatic. And go back to what the referee said about the Brian Rowe part of it, is that there wasn't enough contact. I don't think that's enough of a shirt grab. It's add all of it up, I think it's a penalty. I don't know if the shirt grab would be a penalty on its own. I do think the contact from the goalkeeper is a penalty on its own.
But to answer the question, VAR is at the mercy of the venue and the TV production as to how many different angles they have. If it ends up being 4 cameras and they have 4 angles, who's got a shot? How many of those cameras are on that particular instance? And so it's a completely random animal. Do you have in-house production that can help you out in a situation like that? Is it strictly the TV angles? It is a random animal, to answer the question, when it comes to all the different angles.
Yeah, it's different venue to venue. The angles are different venue to venue. If it's a local or a national broadcast, if you have the is it Target who sponsors the goalpost cam?
Target goal cam.
Yes, if you have that or not, you don't always have that. Stuff like that can change what the VAR has to work with, that's for sure. All right, why don't you tell us about our good friend in Decatur, Steve Apolinski, before we jump back into more reactions?
I can do that. Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. If a wrongful death and serious injury matter is a conversation that you need to have, a couple different ways that you can catch up with Steve and his associates, thus Apolinski and Associates, LLC. Shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com. You can give him a call, get a free consultation, 404-377-9191, or the website, aa-legal.com. You hit enter, you hit the arrow, depending on the size of your device. Whatever advances the screen to that particular website, a pop-up window pops up low right-hand corner, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. Your question's coming up next. You have your questions answered by the person at the other end of that chat window. Wrongful death and serious injury matters, they are recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. If this is a conversation that you need to have at Apolinski and Associates, LLC, the website, aa-legal.com.
All right, what do we have next?
Although I do like the notion of holding off the .com until some random moment 25 minutes later in one of these shows.
No.
Pat Summerall, murder, she wrote.
No.
It's exactly the homage that would be.
I don't like the look of it.
Well, bleh. Mm-hmm. Bleh on you. And speaking of Chris Hutchison, this will catch us up on Twitter. He asks, would it be fair to call Orlando's starting lineup the second team?
That goes with what Matt Wagner said. He said some of the comments that we should have scored against an Orlando B team I don't think is fair. Orlando is missing a lot of players, but they're well organized and show why they're doing well this season. People are always going to say this, but what if this is Orlando's B team, what is this for Atlanta? You know, I mean, you don't have, from the start of the season, Joseph, Pitti, Barco. You've replaced Pitti with Marcelino Moreno. You didn't have him. You signed Kubo Torres to replace Joseph with his injury. You don't have him. Jurgen Damm, who you brought in, if you want to say he was replacing Tito Villalba, and he was brought in to hit the ground in the summer. You haven't had him consistently. You didn't have Fernando Meza in the lineup last night. You know. You added Mateo Sosetu. He was injured. You know. You can play that game both ways. Look, this is where everybody is right now. I think the idea of like B team and C team and there's a rotated lineup and this and that, it's get what you can every match. Get whatever results you can every match. You're going to have teams that are going to have to rest players. You're going to have teams that are going to be full strength. You're going to have to rest players. Injuries are going to pop up for everybody. Welcome to soccer in 2020 right now. That's just how it's going to be. Orlando was better, in my opinion, with their B team because when they brought in Mueller and Nani in the second half, everything changed to Atlanta's benefit for a long portion of it until the very end.
And yeah, I'm right there with you. But and that's the thing, is that with this schedule being what it is, weekday, weekend, weekday, all this schedule compression that you're going to have, it is a test for sports science. It is a test for the physios. It is a test for the players trying to stay as sound, physically fit as humanly possible. It's a test for the coaches and coaching staffs, because you have to plot for the game in front of you and then think one match, if not two, down the line. It's like, okay, well, if I want to have this particular player in this match, would he fit in the next one? Do I go ahead and use him for 90 here? It is the biggest flow chart, and that I think that coaches have had to deal with here in 2020. It's like, all right, you have to think in 3 dimensions. It's Vulcan chess. You have to think in the present. You have to think in the future. Injuries, you have to juggle all of this stuff. I think it's one of the biggest tests for coaches, regardless of what country we're talking about here, because of scheduling. It's one of the biggest tests that coaches are having with their schedules this year in the leagues that they're playing in.
It's Vulcan chess?
Yeah, 3D Vulcan chess. You know how you have the 4 or 5 different levels, and you can move from 1 down here and go 2 or 3 levels down. It's 3-dimensional Vulcan chess is what you're having to deal with this year.
I don't play 3-dimensional Vulcan chess. So
I don't either.
I would take your word for it.
I stink at 1-dimensional normal chess. I'm usually done in about 8 moves. People can beat me fairly regularly. I just don't play it.
Fair enough. We had not gotten to this one yet. A little more detail on New York City sending Alexandru Mitrita out on loan. This is a tough one. There's far more to it than we thought initially. So the loan is done. He's going to be with Al Ahly until January 31st of 2022. So the rest of the season, all of next MLS season. Still has to do a medical, et cetera, et cetera. They have the option to purchase at the end of the loan. So he's with Romania right now, their national team. He traveled to Romania. His wife is expecting their first child. Right now, you can't go back and forth from the U.S. to Romania, and he couldn't do that without missing games due to quarantine situations. Being in New York, he couldn't do that. His wife returned to Romania earlier this year. So he would have to go back and forth, and he's not able to do that right now. And this is in the New York City press release. So the COVID-19 pandemic has dramatically impacted travel to the U.S. from abroad. These restrictions have disrupted visits to and from players' home countries, including Romania. Due to these restrictions, Mitrita's wife, who is expecting their first child, returned to Romania earlier this year. David Lee, who's NYCFC sporting director, said, "Due to Mitri's personal circumstances during this pandemic, we felt it was the best move for all parties at this time to loan him to Al Ahly. He's certainly a player we believe in and has helped us win football matches in the past 18 months. We do not know how long these travel restrictions will last. So from a human perspective, we wanted to respect his wishes to be closer to his family. Due to New York State guidelines and MLS protocol, Mitri would have been subject to mandatory quarantines following returns from the October FIFA window, as well as a likely November FIFA window. Given the current fixture list, he would have missed the majority of NYCFC's remaining 2020 regular season matches, as well as a number of potential playoff matches. The loan allows him to continue to play competitive football while also attending to family matters, which we know are a priority for him. So good on the club for finding a way to treat their player correctly in this. We wondered what was going on with the wording. And I still think they probably could have handled it better with the announcement of the international stuff. Maybe this move wasn't at the point where they could. Okay, because they're getting it right, we'll totally give them the benefit of the doubt and say they just didn't have the option here to handle it differently with the call-ups initially. The way the loan is structured, and NYC made this clear, they have a designated player spot open. So according to what we know of MLS rules, which is always a guessing game, Al Ahly would be picking up all of his salary while he's on loan. So NYC is not paying anything. That allows the DP slot to open up. Now, he's still under contract to New York City, so when the loan is up, he'd come back to New York City unless the purchase option is done, is exercised. But while he is on loan, Alakli has to pay all of the salary to open up that designated player slot. Now, the window is open for MLS. They can bring players in through October 29th. Now, the market's a little different because European teams can't add anybody else. They can add domestic players in some leagues. Some leagues opened a domestic window longer. But in general, they can't add a player. So this is the thing we talk about all the time with you're going to be shopping for somebody who is out of contract, where they're just a complete free, and there's a lot of players like that. Or you're going to be buying somebody who a club would be willing to sell right now. They're not counting on for the season because they can't replace them. Now, you could be looking at Brazil, where the window is still open. You could be looking in South America, where you might have clubs that have to sell at the moment. But NYC can add somebody in a designated player spot before the end of this window, before the end of October, and we'll see if they do it.
According to a source, Sam Stejkal says NYCFC are getting a $2 million loan fee from Alakli for Matrice.
And that might factor in to the ability to take him off of your designated player list, is actually getting a loan fee as well. I don't know all of those details because it seems like it's kind of fluid with MLS on these decisions, but NYC's made it clear they have a designated player spot open, and they have an international slot open, and we'll see if they go fill it.
Tofka's in, and he says, Stephen Glass's time with the Twos was as good of a prep for 2020 season as anything. Major roster changes from week to week, results fluctuating, no superstars at his disposal, scrapping and clawing for every point.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I've noticed about these last 4 games is the team is playing to his personality a little bit. You know, it's more aggressive. When you looked at the differences between the first team and the second, there had to be similarities because you're preparing guys for the first team. You can't do something completely different because then you're not preparing guys properly. So you're playing in the same context. You're playing, from the same general book, but you might be playing in a different chapter. And with a younger team, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to take chances. They're going to press up a little higher. They're going to, be a little more confrontational defensively. Now you're seeing Stephen Glass's MLS team take on those personality traits. And that's been a big part of the change. I think that's a big part of why you've got 3 clean sheets in 4 and why you've got 3 results in 4. And now you have to continue to build on it. It's just a different conversation right now without Joseph, Barco, Pitti, Moreno, Dom, in terms of what they bring to the table in creating chances. You've got to be a little more workmanlike. And you've got to find ways to control the game, even with what you have. And Atlanta United's done a pretty good job of that. The only game that got out of their control was the first half against Chicago, where they gave up 2 goals. You're going to have moments. You're not going to control 90 minutes of every game. Nobody's going to. Look at Liverpool and games that they play. As good as they are, they don't control 90 minutes of every game. Manchester City doesn't control 90 minutes of every game. Leeds controlled more than the opponent did against Liverpool and Manchester City, in my opinion. Definitely against Manchester City. If you want to argue it against Liverpool, that's fine, but it was pretty close. Atlanta United's controlling the majority of these games, with the exception of the Chicago game in the first half. And then Chicago didn't have to try to control the second half because they had a 2-goal cushion. Outside of that, Atlanta's a different team in these last 4. Now, you got to continue to build. You got to get Dom. You got to get Moreno. You got to get Barco. You got to get healthy. And you got to continue to do the things that have been working. And both of those are unknowns. With the health, with Dom being able to play 90, with Moreno and where he is sharpness-wise, with Barco getting back into the team, and being able to play in this manner in this kind of schedule. They're unknowns. But that's been the pathway to getting better results. And that is right in Stephen Glass's wheelhouse from what we've seen with the Twos.
Michael Head, adding to the endless VAR discussion, can we revisit a central VAR operation? Why does MLS think this is a bad idea? Wouldn't this make the decisions more consistent? Most other leagues have it centralized. Would also cut travel and related costs with a question mark. # make it better.
I think it would make it better on 2 fronts. Michael mentions consistency, and I think because if you do it in a centralized location, you would have a consistent pool of video assistant referees who would look at games the same. right now, your pool of video assistant referees, I mean, let's go and look at who was on the VAR side of things last night.
I think it was, Ted Uncle locally?
No, I'm not talking just locally. I want to get into who works as a VAR in general, and we'll go to last night's games as an example here. So, Chico Grajeda was the VAR in Nashville. He is an MLS referee who's worked plenty. Soren Stojka, actually, I'll pull up the referee side too. We will cross-reference and we will get this right, people. We'll give you all the proper information on what's happened this season. So, has Grajeda moved to being a consistent VAR and not on the field? It looks like he might have. He was a center referee up until fairly recently, but he was the VAR in Nashville. He has not worked a center this season. Ted Uncle was the fourth here last night. Soren Stojka was the VAR, and Soren Stojka is one of the more experienced VARs who is specializing there. Jose Carlos Rivero was the VAR for Red Bulls and Miami. And what has he done this season? Has he not worked in the middle this year? He's worked in the middle plenty. And I don't have him down. Who scored's not 100% accurate with some of the ways that games have been circled around. But, yeah, he's not on here. He reffed games last year in the middle, I know.
Right. Yep.
Okay, maybe they're shifting this around a little bit. Well, no, Alan Kelly for New England and Toronto. Alan Kelly. Wow, has Alan Kelly not done a center this year? Huh. MLS Referee of the Year 2 years ago, Alan Kelly. No center referee assignments this year. I wonder if the COVID stuff is affecting who's doing VAR and not. Philadelphia, Guido Gonzalez did the VAR. He has reffed games this year. John Freeman was the referee. He's done VAR this year. Columbus, Fotos Bazakos was the VAR. He has done games this year. He's got 6 games under his belt this season. NYC, Chris Penso did VAR. Has he done as much this year? I don't think he's done as many centers this year as usual. He's only done 2. Freeman's done 2. So those are Penso's a veteran. Freeman's on the way up. Maybe Penso's starting to transition into more VAR work. Daniel Radford did VAR for Houston and Dallas. I don't think he has done a center in a while in MLS. Jorge Gonzalez, who's done a lot of VAR work, has been on a couple of Atlanta games. He's Sporting and Chicago last night. So you get guys like Guido Gonzalez has worked 7 games this year. The most that I have for somebody in who scored is 10 with Ismail Elfath. So Guido has done a lot of work this year on the field. He's still getting VAR assignments. We've seen Ted Uncle as a VAR. He's done 8 games this year. You see some guys like a John Freeman who has done 2 games this year. He's done a lot of games in USL. He's getting VAR assignments. And then you see some guys like Chico Grajeda who are not really getting those on-field assignments anymore. Edvin Jurasevich has done VAR a lot since they instituted it. He's probably done the most games as a VAR. Kevin Stott, who's worked on the field plenty, who did VAR for the Galaxy in Portland last night. So you're getting a wide variety. I mean, that's running the gamut right there. You're getting up-and-coming referees. You're getting current referees who are just regularly booked to run the middle. You're getting older referees who aren't really running the middle anymore. It's all over the map. What you need is what I think a lot of other countries do with their video assistant referees, and they need to be separate. Just like you have now, finally, after a long time where referees kind of cycled through crews, and you'd be an AR, you'd be a center, you'd be a fourth. ARs have been separated from the center referee group. You specialize. You need specialized video assistant referees. And doing it centrally would allow you to do that. You would have a core that you work with. You would be able to talk to on a regular basis. You would be able to say, hey, look, this is something that we're taking very seriously here at the league. players throwing elbows at people's heads, and this is something that we want you to look for. And then you get more consistency in the way not just the VAR situation works, but just the way things are looked at across the board. That's what you need. Because you don't need these situations that we've seen so many times, and I'll see if there's one from last night. I think there is. Drew Fisher and Chris Penso working together, okay, you're talking about two veterans, not really too big of a deal. Nima Sagafi as the ref and Alan Kelly as the VAR. That's a little difficult for Nima Sagafi to be there, but he's somebody who uses his VAR a pretty good bit. Kevin Stott as the VAR and Rami Touchen as the center referee. Rami has 7 games this year. He's starting to get more regularly booked, but Kevin Stott is a veteran and a guy who Rami would probably look at as a senior guy, not an elder in a negative sense, but somebody that he's going to listen to and trust. Maybe more so than he needs to because Stott's not on the field in that situation. And then you flip it and you have a veteran referee and an inexperienced VAR. Are you going to take him as seriously? You know, that's the hard part. And if you just have it centralized, then you're going to have the same core of VARs all the time. It needs to happen for so many different reasons. The travel, the cost, all that's there. I think you also, along with the things, I think it was Michael Head who said this, you also need to have consistency in who works as a video assistant referee.
Yeah.
Not just centralizing it, but consistent booking and training of specialized video assistant referees. It doesn't just need to be somebody who's not working in the middle that night. It needs to be, this is what you train to be. We are going to make you the best video assistant referee in this country. This is going to be your focus. And it's a great way to keep referees in the game when they retire.
Yep.
It's an outstanding way to keep their input there. And I'm completely good if you make the AVAR a situation where that's where you keep your assistant referees. Now, the AVAR is a different role than a linesman, than an assistant referee. But you need to keep them in the game, too. Corey Rockwell, for example. I mean, he has worked forever, and he's one of the best this country's ever produced. You want him involved in refereeing for Major League Soccer as long as he possibly can be because he's that good. And if that means he can be in a VAR booth, okay, let's get him in there. Let's train him up because you want people who understand that and have that institutional knowledge. You want that. A centralized location would allow you to do that.
Yeah, for me, the biggest point that I would say is that you don't want to lose that knowledge. You don't want to lose that individual as a part of the fabric where that individual can sit there and help younger officials grow, whether it's in a VAR setting or if it's down there on the field, to continue to have that kind of a voice like a Rockwell there. And if you have him in his later years as a VAR, to still have that influence. I think it's big just to continue to have him here to help out wherever he can to help the younger referees.
Yep, absolutely. Sean Vergara said, can someone calm Franco down? He was bad Franco last night. Should have gotten a red. No, he shouldn't have. I don't think he should have gotten a red. He got the yellow. The instance that Orlando wanted him to get a red, Robin Janssen took a flying leap and spin and was trying out for the Olympics next year on gymnastics and would have failed. I mean, he didn't stick the landing. It was very
I was going to say figure skating.
No, there were no skates. It was on turf. There was no ice. So I'm going gymnastics, a little bit easier one. Either way, he didn't stick the landing, and he would have been docked for that, and he didn't get the red card, the second yellow on Franco. Outside of that, there wasn't anything else to me. There was one other tackle that would have been an incredibly hard second yellow. I don't think Franco was bad last night. I think he was laboring as the night went on, but he found a reserve to continue and stay in the match. He did well. I didn't have a problem with Franco, but Sean Vergara is not the only one who said that. I've seen a lot of people say that. I've seen a lot of people say the opposite as well. So just shows you, I think, judging outside backs is always a difficult one.
Tafka with a question.
Okay.
He's not complimenting Orlando with this question, by the way. He prefaces it.
I'll compliment Orlando, but okay.
But is Gerald Dike's rise one to watch from a national team perspective? He's only 20 and is showing really well. I guess I'm asking, what's his perceived ceiling?
It's a little hard to say. I mean, I saw him in college with Virginia once the hype started and he was going to come into MLS. He was going to be in the draft. Most people were thinking he'd be the number one pick. I watched, I can't remember if it was ACC tournament or if it was NCAA tournament late last year. I wasn't that impressed. Not going to lie to you. I wasn't that impressed. He looked just incredibly raw. His movement off the ball is the thing that I've noticed is so different under Pareja, and I'm sure that's something that has been worked on. I'm sure it was something that was identified at the very beginning. 4 goals, 3 assists in 9 starts, 11 matches this season. I think he's absolutely part of the Olympic squad for next year. He absolutely can be a national team player because he's got all the elements you want. He's got the size. He's got the strength. He's got the quickness. He's got the mental reading of the game. And maybe some of that's down to, his brother is a former MLS player and a former Nigerian international, Bright Dike. But Daryl is showing how well he reads the game. You watch him on some situations where he drifts off the center back's shoulder. He's not just a speed and power guy. He's a smart player. And at 20, he's going to get smarter as he plays more. He's one to watch. You tell me. Watch Josh Sargent, watch Daryl Dike. And they're different kinds of players, but who is maybe closer to a finished product? And I don't think either one is finished by any stretch, but I think Dike is further along maybe right now as the whole package and might be more effective in a national team format. We'll see. I think he's one to watch for sure.
Rich Ransom has a question about the rest of the league, which can lead into the discussion with the other matches from last night.
Okay.
Rich says, is it legally possible for MLS to just cancel the Colorado Rapids season at this point? Because miss me with the BS, they can do a season at this point.
I don't know. I don't know the ramifications of it. I don't know because I'm assuming Colorado would fight it on whatever sponsorship elements they have, that they need to have games broadcast to be able to meet. And if the league said you can't play anymore, then how would the liability work on those contracts? Because Colorado would say we can play. And they have 12 staff members, I think, who've tested positive now. 3 players? Is it 3 or 4?
3 or 4. I thought it was 4. I thought we got a 4th.
It might have been a 4th. I thought it was another staff member yesterday. Either way, whenever you're seeing numbers like that, something's gone wrong. Because that's not typical. That's Tennessee Titans, that's Miami Marlins, that's St. Louis Cardinals, that's Genoa, that's getting to a different level, and you have to wonder what the club is doing to try to not have that happen. Staff's a little bit different conversation, but man, that's rough. I was surprised, and it's probably because of the large numbers, that they didn't play yesterday with the additional positives, because they were preparing to play. That was the plan. It was set. They were going to play. LAFC was going to travel. All of it was done. And they did not play at the last minute. Or not at the last minute. LAFC didn't travel yet. The last minute for them to make a decision on traveling, I'm assuming. And now I don't know how they make up the rest of the game. So they can't. There's just no way. They already had a game that I wasn't sure how they could make it up. I don't know how they make this one up on top of it. So that's 2. We had talked about it, where did you go to points per game, which is something that all leagues have talked about to decide standings. I don't know if Colorado should get that benefit. Now, the thing we don't know, and this is down to the reporting, is this bad luck? Or has Colorado not been following protocols? It's different than a player outbreak. It's a staff outbreak. But players are involved. And is this down to negligence on Colorado's part, or is it just a fluke? Because if it's negligence, then no, if they don't get to play those games and they don't get the points necessary to get into the playoffs, then they don't get into the playoffs. They shouldn't get the benefit of points per game if they're doing something wrong. But that's going to require an investigation. That's going to require the league to make a decision, and I don't know if they're going to be in a position to do that. So I don't think they'll be canceled because of all the different legal ramifications and financial implications, but I don't know if they're going to get the opportunity to play these matches and put other teams in situations where they have to compress their schedule to make up for a Colorado error.
Yeah,
that's not really fair either. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Jeff Carlisle yesterday, an ESPN source with knowledge of the situation, said that the latest positive is linked to the initial outbreak within the Rapids team that was first diagnosed September 24th. The outbreak has seen 4 players and at least 13 staff contract COVID-19.
Okay.
Rapids' first team engaged in full practice session Monday, Tuesday prior to the latest positive test. The Wednesday match was the third consecutive postponed. The September 27th home match against Sporting, an October 3rd game against Portland. Those matches have been rescheduled for October 21st and November 4th, respectively.
Okay, so they got both of them rescheduled. So this is the one that I don't know how they reschedule because there's no gap in the schedule.
Right. Unclear when the LAFC match would be rescheduled from Carlisle.
Okay, so they did get both of those. I thought they'd just gotten one. So they're good going into that one last night that got postponed. But now you've got a game that there's nowhere to put it. There's just nowhere to put it, and you're not going to put LAFC out to have to make it up, where they're going to have to play on a Tuesday and then play again on a Thursday or something like that. That's not fair to LAFC. It's not their fault. They had nothing to do with it. Twitch pitch, Jared_Smith. Orlando had zero interest coming off that back line, just couldn't rip them out of shape. Oscar's done good work. Oscar was coaching his socks off last night from the touchline. Anytime Orlando didn't have the ball, he looked like a symphony conductor, making sure his defense was organized and rotating and moving side to side. They did such a good job where Atlanta tried to pull them apart laterally, left to right, right to left. They did not allow that to happen. They moved in unison, and that is good coaching. Pareja is an excellent coach. Pareja should have been hired by the U.S. men's national team because he's an excellent coach. And Berhalter is a very good coach, too. Berhalter is not a bad coach. And he did well with Columbus. I think Pareja did better with Dallas, and I think Pareja's a better coach. Alex Lohman says, small injuries are annoying, but nothing will kill Barco's value like a major injury when you're moving towards a selling point. 1,000,000%.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to what is logical when you look at the situation and what is fantasy land on the conspiracy side. That is very logical because you are moving towards a selling point. He wants to go to Europe. You're getting to a point where you want to sell. You're getting later in his contract. You want to make a deal. You can't make a deal if there's a major injury. If there's a risk of a major injury, you're not going to take it. You're going to be smart about it. That's the one that makes more sense. Christopher Abel says, gotta praise Glassy, 7 points in 4 games with no designated players. That's insane. And I would agree with that. That's not easy to pull off. It's not easy in this league to pull off. He's done it. And I think he's done it with a team not playing negatively, not playing defensively, not playing the Yopstom style of it, but playing. And playing in a way that is true to the way this club wants to play. It's different in that you don't have that creative element at the top end. But the way of controlling games and being aggressive and playing with speed and being on the front foot, all of those touchstones are still there. And that's a credit to Glass and his coaching staff for sure. Happiest to Joe's subscribing at Tier 1. You demand. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you. People who subscribe on Twitch help the show out. I think any of you who do the Twitch thing kind of know how that stuff works. The subscriptions help the channel, and it's not a lot, but it helps. Every little bit helps with what we're doing because it helps us, get a new camera when we need to get a new camera. It helps John get a microphone when we need to get John a microphone. It will help us.
It helps John get a microphone when he needs a new microphone.
See, it really works. It works well. He just forgets it's on sometimes and starts pounding on the keyboard in front of it.
Yeah, really?
And then he turns it upside down or something. I don't know what he's doing now.
No, there's like some liquid on here that I'm trying to get off.
Well, you know we can hear that, right?
Yeah.
Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what I was doing.
Maybe we need to get John training for the new microphone and the new microphone next time. We need more subscriptions to do that, people. Thank you.
You can also do that at Fanati's. It helps out the show.
Yes, it has nothing to do with training you to use microphones. But it does, fntz.co/soccer down here. And we heard it. Stop. You're driving me insane. Fanatis is very happy with the response from Soccer Down Here listeners. It's maybe one of their best affiliate programs. It's pretty cool. You guys are awesome. So if you have not subscribed, go check it out. The Argentine League is coming back at the end of the month with their wild miniature league competition. I don't know if they've settled on a name or anything, but it's supposed to start October 30th.
Superliga.
No, the Superliga is not there anymore. We've covered this.
Special.
It's Special. You're making up words now.
Uh-huh.
John's not naming this competition, that's for sure. It's supposed to start October 30th, and it'll be like a mini league format. So that's on Fanatis. You've got Goal TV. You've got BN Sports. You've got BN in English and Spanish. You've got Goal in English and Spanish. You've got all the BN Connect stuff. You've got BN's La Liga channel, which is mostly La Liga TV, which is a great service to watch if you're looking for La Liga content. You've got Tigo Sports out of Guatemala, so you've got the Guatemalan League. So much. You've got TIC to watch on a regular basis. You've got the Colombian League to watch on a regular basis. There's so much on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Yes, John, / and that can get you in the game. There's a 7-day free trial. That helps the show. Subscriptions help the show, too. So you guys have helped the show quite a bit with your Fanatis services. Burned talking about Orlando. What are you doing now?
Orlando. See, the Andrew Rannell's gift from Book of Sounder from Book of Mormon.
So you're making your own gifts now, dancing to it
wasn't meant to be a GIF. It was meant to be an audio drop that was going in my head, and I was going along with it.
I'm not going to play it. Burns says Orlando has learned how to build a squad. The Brazilian connection, Muzi, and the ownership, plus Oscar's clearly defined playing idea have done that. Atlanta, unfortunately, has unlearned how to do that a bit for whatever reason, and we can't know what caused that from the outside. Bottom line, Orlando's B squad better than Atlanta's B squad quality-wise. I mean, B side, C side, D side, injured side, I don't know. Not by much. Not by much. Orlando was... It's weird because, look, I call all the Atlanta United games, so obviously I probably have a higher opinion of Atlanta United players than most. So I'll usually check on a game like that one where it's kind of a hard read and so many people are having different opinions. I'll check like SofaScore, which does ratings based off stats, Who Scored, which does ratings based off stats, where it's not subjective, to kind of see, okay, how did these types of services see it? How did the statistical output see this game? Both of them had Atlanta higher rated than Orlando. SofaScore by a pretty large margin. Who Scored was a little bit tighter. So I don't know. Orlando had the XG, yeah, not by a ton, but they did. Orlando had more shots, yes. Brad Gazan had to make more saves. But in terms of the overall performance, I don't know if I'm saying Orlando's B squad is better than Atlanta's B squad quality-wise or performance-wise last night. I think it was pretty even. I think maybe those statistical numbers are not necessarily giving Orlando enough credit, but I don't think it was Orlando was this much better, Atlanta was just barely holding on. I didn't see it that way last night. Mm-hmm. Jarrett talking about the TV broadcast, and I didn't get a great look at this because so much was going on at different points. He says, underrated moment was Glassy ready to fight Oscar.
Yes, at the end of the first half. Yeah.
Glasses from Dundee, a place where the term River of Burning Whiskey is a historical event. I'd pay money to see them throw down. Pareja is not exactly a pushover, first off. I would not want to see that go down because I don't know if either one of them come out of it very well. I'm assuming it was all about the penalty situation?
It was. That's the best that I could gather. And Glassy, and it's like Glassy's trying to talk to the fourth, the way that I was seeing it, because this was without audio on my part. But Glassy's trying to say what he's saying. Oscar is interjecting backwards, and then they go at it. And then you just see Glassy, and he's not backing down from nothing. So it was a very interesting exchange. Let's put it that way. I don't know what the microphones caught. I'm sure that Jarrett could help with that audio, but it was neither was backing down from the other.
Everybody is a fan of Stephen Glass being very willing to argue with other managers.
Yes.
This is starting to become a trend. Four Card said, I think we've been playing better, and I thought we played really well overall, and I like the improvement I'm seeing. And you're seeing this without Joseph, Barco, Dom, Moreno right now, Kubo. You're seeing this without those guys. So I think that has a factor. Meza as well. Yeah. Question from Bernd about Urso's chance late, and I'm going to see if I can pull that up so we can look at it and talk about it. How it happened, how it kind of broke down for Urso to get that opportunity. So I think I have it here. And I know there's going to be an ad at the front of it, so hold on. And there's the ad, and we're going to mute the ad. No offense. Sorry, ad people at MLSsoccer.com. And we'll keep it muted. And we'll kind of talk through it. So this is the highlight, 86th minute. Orlando break. Walks defending 1v1, passes slipped into Urso way too easily. All right, let's see the replay. And, yeah, Urso just gets in behind Mo Adams, and Jeff Lorenowitz is kind of in space. It's on Adams, and that was what Bernd was thinking watching it, because if you go to the MLS Soccer website and you go to the highlight section of the game, the first highlight is actually pretty clear. Who made the pass? Is that Nani? I believe so, who's on the break. So Nani is breaking. Walks is defending him. Robinson has somebody on his back shoulder. Mueller is streaking in on the backside, but Bellows at full speed to track him. About, let's see, doing math. 35 yards from goal with the ball. Urso's got a step on Adams. Lorenowitz is shading over to help Walks on the ball. So 5 yards further, Lorenowitz is trying to catch the ball. Walks is trying to push the ball further wide. Urso has gotten further in behind Adams. Bellows closing ground on Mueller on the backside, but Walks has forced the ball wide a little bit, so they can't pick Mueller out yet. Robinson has the striker DK with him. Go 5 more yards to the edge of the area, 22 yards out. Walks is trying to keep the ball out wide. Lorenowitz has looked over. There's nobody with him, but he's looking over to try to get into the passing lane. He's not in a great spot to get there, though. They've run by him a bit. Adams is letting up a little bit at this point, it looks like, and Urso is still pushing forward. Bellows closed a lot of ground on Mueller by that point and is not there with him yet, but maybe a yard and a half behind him. So then it gets into the 18. Robinson's got DK covered really well. That's great from Miles Robinson. Lorenowitz hasn't been able to close the passing lane to get to Urso, and Adams has gotten further away from Junior Urso. When the pass was made, it was cut back behind Walks. Robinson has DK pretty well handled, although DK started to make a near post run, but the pass is not to the near post. There's nothing Robinson can do about Urso. Bello had just sprinted 50, 60 yards to catch Mueller. There's nothing Bello can do to turn and catch Urso behind him. Urso has found the gap, and Adams isn't involved in the play at this point. And then it's played to the penalty spot. Urso gets the shot. Bello tries to come off of Mueller and get there. He can't. It's an incredible save from Brad Gazan. But, yeah, watching the second angle back, which is a little bit, I think, higher up. Let me get another look. Yeah, it's the further away high cam. So when it starts, Adams is actually closer to the goal than Urso when they're right on the edge of the center circle. And as the play developed, Adams couldn't chase him. Now, I don't know if because this is the 86th minute and you're talking about the minutes played they have, and Adams was subbed not too far after this. I don't know if he just didn't have it in him, if it's the awareness, if he just lost him. But, yeah, I mean, that's the role of the six that we've talked about. Now, Lorenowitz was shaded over. He didn't handle it well either. These are the plays that happen with tired legs, but there is a mental awareness to it as well. Robinson, Bello were able to do enough to deal with what they had to deal with. Adams and Lorenowitz were not able to do that when it came to Urso and gave him way too much space. Brad Gazan bailed everybody out.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm watching it with you, and Urso just opens and tries to side put it past him. It was a great save by Brad in the end.
Question about center backs for Saturday, Meza and Walks. It's a pretty strong possibility. The other one is Escobar coming inside and Lennon moving to right back. That's a possibility as well. I don't hate that idea either. I actually kind of like that idea. Mezzano says, can we talk about how much John has improved? Not to say that he can't improve more, but he's developed a lot this year, being more involved in the play, taking good touches, just needs to keep his head up and look for good passes or when he can turn and move to space. Well done, keep improving. I think he started to find common ground with the players around him, and they're getting used to him too. He's improved because he's seeing more of the ball. I think that's where I'm at with it. This is also, at the MLS level, the most run out he's gotten consistently. He showed last year in USL Championship that he's a number 9. He's a good number 9. It's just finding the right team that's going to give him that opportunity to play consistently at the MLS level. He's found it here right now because of the injury to Joseph Martinez, and he's taken full advantage. And he's gotten, I think, more ingrained into the team. I don't know if it's been like individual development that's gotten better for him. He's gotten more ingrained into the group. And that, playing a lot of games in a short period of time, can help with that. It absolutely can. What else on Twitter?
One from Bart. He says, I think Pareja's style and coaching methods would fit better at a national team level than Berhalter's The System trademark. It's a shame that the USSF selected their coach before even searching for one.
I totally agree. I think Pareja's more adaptable. We'll see about Berhalter. He reacted correctly to The System trademark, kind of breaking down a little bit, and he's gotten away from being so rigid with it. He's going to have to continue to do that. He's going to have to do that even more with the schedule he's going to have in 2021. But he's shown a willingness to do it. He's a good coach. He's a good coach. He has a really good way of seeing the game. Can he adapt, and can his personality come through in moments? Because I think the national team is as much about man management as it is about tactics. Probably more so. Club, tactics are more important, although the man management's a vital piece, as we saw with Frank de Boer's time here in Atlanta. But national team, the man management is critical for me. Pareja has that in spades. He gets the most out of the players he has. He always has done that. Berhalter, we'll see. We'll have to see. I don't know yet. I don't know. But I'm with Bart. I think Pareja would have been a better fit for the national team job, and I wish he had been selected. And that's not to say Berhalter's bad. Berhalter's adjustments had me feeling better than I did. Going into the Gold Cup where Berhalter felt like it was my system or nothing at all, and it's going to be super rigid, and I'm going to play guys in positions that I see them in, and that's all that matters, and everybody else can shut up. That rubbed me the wrong way. I thought that was a pathway to disaster. He's adjusted, and he gets credit for that. But is it going to be enough? We'll just have to wait and see. I think Pareja would have been the easier fit for sure.
I think Portland just scored again.
Probably. What'd that one finish up?
6-3.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
One for Mabiala, one for Valeri, two for Abobasi, two for Felipe Mora.
San Jose won 3-0 last night over Vancouver, the hapless Whitecaps. Seattle 2-1 over RSL. That ended up being a little bit closer than we thought. Sporting got a win over Chicago, 1-0. Chicago is not quite there yet. DC United had a positive test early in the day. They were allowed to play after no more positive tests emerged. I think there's been a lot of questions around the league. Is like, well, why did Colorado postpone and then DC played? It's not about having a positive test because those are going to happen sometimes, and it can happen even if you're doing everything right, as we're all learning in the world these days. It's where you have an outbreak situation that there's a concern. And DC did not have an outbreak situation. They played. I'm sure that was a distraction, along with the fact that they're just not very good right now. They lost 4-1. Houston won 2-0 at home against Dallas. That's a big win for the Dynamo. Montreal with the game of the night, going to Columbus and winning 2-1. That's massive. That's a shock. Cincinnati, not a shock. 3-0 losers to Philadelphia. The wheels have been stripped from the bus, and I think the roof has been knocked off at this point, and the parking the bus idea that Jaap Stam has had for Cincinnati is not working anymore, and they're starting to get blown out in places. Yep. There's a lot of work to do in Cincinnati. Toronto went to New England, got a 1-0 win. That was one we called that didn't make sense that Toronto had such a big number next to them. They went and beat New England on the road. Ayo Akinola and Andrew Farrell had the collision for the ages, and Farrell went flying, and Akinola scored a goal. That's two big boys running into one another, and Farrell went for a ride. Miami with a big win at Red Bull Arena, 2-1, and what a goal from Gonzalo Higuain on a free kick to win it. It's a rocket of a goal, and that gives Miami an unexpected win on the road.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the Higuain goal, it is a massive shot from a free kick situation. And I think that in Philadelphia and Cincinnati, I think that we've just seen Stone Cold blow up the DX Express. I think that was pretty much what we saw with that one last night.
That thing's been blown up. This is not new. Cincinnati, let's see what they have done lately, because it's getting to the point that we're going to sit and defend idea. People have found it out and been able to pull it apart. 3-0 loss last night, 2-0 loss to Minnesota, 4-0 loss to NYC, scoreless to Philadelphia before. They beat Red Bulls 1-0 on September 19th. That's the last time they scored 5 games ago. They lost 2-1 before that to NYC. They lost 3-0 to Columbus before that. Scoreless draw with Chicago on September 2nd. Scoreless draw with Columbus on August 29th. They got beat 3-0 by Chicago on August 25th. Scoreless draw on August 21st. So, since the return from the MLS's back tournament, no goals, no goals, no goals, no goals, no goals, 1 goal, 2 goals, no goals, no goals, no goals, no goals.
3 goals in 10 matches.
No, 2 goals in 3 games. In 3. Because they lost 2-1 to NYC and they beat Red Bulls 1-0. That's it.
Okay, 2 goals in 10 matches.
Yeah, if I can add 1 + 1, yes.
Well, I was counting number of matches versus the 2.
11 matches actually. By
11
the way,
matches.
That's horrendous.
8 goals on the season. Goal difference of -18. And a record of 3-9-4, and they are 4 goals behind DC and 3 goals behind Nashville, who've scored 11 goals. They are still the only team in the league that hasn't cracked double digits in goal scoring this year, and they've played 16 matches.
as bad as DC is, at least they somewhat threaten you in the attack. Cincinnati is horrendous. 2 goals since the restart. They haven't scored since September 19th. Blech.
Yes.
I feel bad for anybody who's a Cincinnati fan at this point. Let's see. What else?
A couple of other things on Twitter while you're searching.
Go ahead.
El Mataflow. I think what has impressed me the most about John is his commitment to work from day one. His technique is more and more on display with each game, and the familiarity he has with his teammates is certainly improving.
Yeah, that's the latter's the, I think, better play you're getting right now, but the work has been there from day one. He was a good signing because he was brought here to be a second striker. He was brought here to be a guy who worked hard in training. He was brought here to be a guy who would be a different type of option off the bench. We've seen that he can combine, so I feel better about if he sticks around for next year and he's the reserve behind Joseph, and late in games you decide to go to 2 up top. I think he can play with Joseph. I think he can play with anybody up top because he's got that combination play in him. He's got good feet. He's got an ability to combine, and he's going to work, and he's going to work. So I think it was a good signing. And it's paying off. Now that he's built up some chemistry with the guys around him, they know they can play him. He's going to give it back to them. He's going to be that 1-2, that wall pass. You've got that ability, and he can get on the end of things as well. He's turned into a really nice pickup for this team right now. You didn't expect him to play this many minutes, but he's turned into a nice pickup.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Okay. It's coming.
From Chris Ashley and the Greenville Triumph. And by the way, Chris Ashley, you're on the clock for your Thursday record for your 1v1. From the Greenville Triumph, get ready upstate. We're excited to announce that the at USL League One final will be broadcast locally on the CW62.
Very cool.
So in addition to ESPN Plus, it will be on linear television in the upstate at the end of the month.
Well, that makes sense. Very, very good. Good stuff.
And Chris says, not going to lie, but I predicted this on last week's Greenville Triumph Weekly. But, hashtag, I did.
Chris can take the victory lap on that one. That's okay.
Yeah. But he did say that last week on last week's Greenville Triumph Weekly. But, yeah, very cool stuff out of the upstate and very cool stuff out of League One.
Excelente.
You were mentioning players. Now, this is COVID-19 quarantines and protocols might get in the way here. But for the remainder of this season, could you see Atlanta United 2 players being a part of practice and possibly being a part of game day rosters going forward since the season is over?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on protocol. There's spots to sign players. Like, if you want to sign homegrowns or minimum senior salary guys, hold on, we'll walk through it really fast before we wrap up here. You've got, I believe, up to 4 spots that you could use. So senior roster, 19 full right now, but Marcelino Moreno will take the 20th. That'll take the last international slot as well. So that's done. Supplemental roster, your first 4 spots, 2 of them are filled. John Gallagher, Brendan Moore fit into that. Lagos Kunga, J.J. Williams are out on loan. They are not on your roster currently. You've got 2 spots there. That can be senior minimum salary. There's some restrictions here. Senior minimum salary can include homegrown, can include Generation Adidas, can include anybody who was eligible for the MLS Super Draft, or homegrown players earning more than the senior minimum salary subject to the homegrown player subsidy. The slots 25 to 28, which you have 1 available, may be filled with players earning the reserve minimum salary or homegrown players earning more than the reserve minimum salary but subject to the homegrown player subsidy. Basically, you have a homegrown player subsidy. You can buy them down to move them into one of these spots if you want to. Slots 29 and 30 must be filled with homegrowns. same roster idea as 25 and 28. So you have a 28-player roster. If you sign homegrowns, you can get to 30 if you want. So you've got right now, according to the way MLS has this on their website, which might not be 100% accurate, as we've found out, 2 spots in the first supplemental section, 1 spot in the next supplemental section, and 1 more homegrown specific spot. That's where you're at currently. So homegrown players, you've got plenty of room. Senior minimum salary guys, you've got plenty of room. So anybody from the 2s that you want to sign, you've got the room to do it if you think they're going to help you this year. You don't want to necessarily do it where you're locked into something for next year, potentially, if you don't want to do that. But you've got some room. Just training, they're just going to have to enter the protocol from my understanding, although I don't know how many players you're allowed to have who aren't under contract that can train with you during this time because of COVID protocols. But in terms of signing players, you've got room to sign anybody from the 2s, because anybody from the 2s that you sign is going to fall into one of those categories.
Right.
You know, you're not going to sign a player from the 2s that would be more than the senior minimum roster spot. Now, international players, you don't have an international slot. That's the one. But domestic players, and especially homegrowns, you could sign them if you wanted to.
Because the reason I ask is just because of schedule compression and having more bodies around and folks that Stephen Glass could be comfortable with his time with Atlanta United too, that he's seen develop. Could they be a part of helping out down the line for the stretch run? That was basically why I was asking.
Yeah, no, it's possible. You've got the room to do it. You can't sign a senior guy, but you could sign a player from the 2s. You absolutely could do that for sure.
Okay. Yes, like I said, it was just something that popped into my head with the season being over. Could you have that kind of reinforcements coming from the second team?
Katie Weaver with a question. Thought experiment for number 9 subs. Would you rather have 2020 Adam John or 2017 Kenwin Jones? Adam John.
Adam John.
He gives you more of a complete game. Kenwin was so beat up by that point, and his knees kind of prevented him from giving you much more. Adam John, I think, can give you more. So I'd go to John for that one. We got bots in the Twitch pitch. Good times. Welcome.
Yay!
Hang out, bots.
Hello, bot.
How are you? Regular chess is 2-dimensional, according to Jason Nix, John.
Yes, that is true. One flat surface, but yeah, Vulcan 3D chess is what coaches are dealing with this year. I felt like I was working with a slinky just then.
You kind of were. I don't know how that had anything to do with chess.
No, just the coaching decisions. You can't think in 2 dimensions. You have to think in 3 dimensions, and Vulcan 3-dimensional.
You said 5 dimensions earlier. I'm confused on how many dimensions.
Or however many it was.
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Multi-dimensional chess.
Gimmick.
I'm not a Star Trek person. I don't remember how many dimensions are involved with Vulcan chess.
You made the gimmick. I don't know. I'm just asking you.
I didn't know Star Trek made the gimmick. So how many? It's like 4 separate levels of playing, and you can go from top all the way down to number 3, or top all the way down to number 4, or all the way down to the 5, and whatever.
What?
Depth of field. That's what I was going for. You having to think in 3
But
dimensions.
they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I'm going to let you off the hook. Chiefs coach Steve talking about youth soccer. Lots of questions about Cobb FC and Rush Union and Rush National, and man, all the mergers, Steve. I get confused sometimes. I'm going to need a flow chart of how all that worked out, because I'm confused by trying to read it. Shooter wants to investigate the refs. Are you referring to? I
was going to say the collective, or is there a specific case here?
He also wants to abolish VAR, and I'll have to fight you on that one, Shooter. I'm not going to abolish VAR. VAR is not the issue. The people doing it might be the issue.
Yeah.
Nick says, doesn't EPL just rotate their refs through VAR, or is that just for senior refs over there? I don't know. I need to find out, to be perfectly honest. I think it should be a separate thing altogether. They shouldn't rotate referees through VAR. It should be separate people who are not going to be working on the field. They should be trained to be VARs. They shouldn't just be people who are hanging out that day and getting that assignment. The 4th official spot can be that. The VAR should be a trained spot for me. I really think it would make it better.
Totally agree.
Anything else on Twitter before we go?
We are caught up, sir. Abby has come up with a picture of Vulcan chess. So excellent. So it is multi-dimensional and multi-board. So it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 5, 6, or 7 different elements involved, 7 different levels to Vulcan chess. And so that's what I was thinking that coaches have to think through this year.
Okay.
Thank you, Abby, for the picture, and thank you for all the work with the Marcelino Moreno scarves.
Yes. KFC, we'll do a fantasy shout-out tomorrow on the show for how people are doing, and we'll have a little bit of a check-in. I had a good night last night. I had a lot of my picks ended up scoring some goals for me. I was very happy that Christian Espinoza got one for San Jose. Valeri, who I captained, trying to be a little bit different. He got me a goal. He got me a bunch of points. Ladero got a bunch of points.
Yep.
Lennon got good points for a clean sheet. Metanair had got those the night before. Jossie Zardes got me 9 points. Barrich, Gallagher, Herbers. I'm very disappointed in you.
Yeah, I got 3 out of Herbers. I captained Ladero, so I got 26 out of that. Goal from Jordan Morris, goal from Mabiala, Brooks Lennon at the back. So, yeah, pretty decent night.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in you, Robert Barrich. You let me down. Robert Barrich, we're going to have a conversation offline. Lots of conversation about Barco and the Twitch pitch. Lots of conversation in general on the Twitch pitch. Man, y'all went nuts today. I couldn't keep up. And I guess there was somebody posting a lot of videos. Chris Ashley got us. And, man, I missed all these videos. Okay, sorry. I missed the blocking. I'll fix the blocking for next time. Good grief. They posted a whole bunch of links. No wonder I couldn't keep up. Did they disappear? Okay, it's done and reported. Thank you, people, for corralling the Twitch pitch. Thank you. Tesco asked if we had talked about the LA Galaxy. Not outside of just they gave up a bunch of goals. It did not go well. No. This is not a surprise. The LA Galaxy just aren't very good. I wonder if Guillermo Barros Escaloto is there next year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that he is. This was a weird one. So Portland went up 2-0. LA got one back. Portland scored another one. LA got one back. It was 3-2 in the 55th minute. Then 2 goals from Portland. Then LA got another one. Then Portland scored again. The defense for LA has not gotten better under Schelotto.
No.
Does he have enough to work with? I think not. But is he going to be expected to have gotten more out of it? I think he might walk. For some reason, I don't see him there long term. I don't. Ricky says wasting a lot of talent. I don't know if they have a lot of talent, but I don't think they're getting enough out of what they have.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say they have a lot, especially defensively. It's not working with Chicharito, and I don't understand why. And that seems like a no-brainer to me for Schelotto as well. If I'm in the front office, I think there has to be questions about Schelotto and what he's done with that group, because they have not progressed, and if anything, they've regressed. And it is a crazy year, and I totally understand that, and that's going to factor into discussions about the future. I just don't know if he's done enough to stay. I don't. Yeah. Question about how many scarves we've got left. Not a lot. We are down to 15. That's where we're at. So if you want one, you need to send us a message to get your Marcelino Moreno scarf. They can get in the mail today if you want to get one. So send us a message on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. You can send it to me at Longshoe specifically. You can send it to our email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com if you're not on Twitter. Facebook as well. We're at Soccer Down Here there. So send us a message. We'll get you taken care of. You're going to pay via PayPal. Very easy, simple. Get it done quickly, and we'll get that sent out to you. Just need your address to do it. But there's only 15 left. That is it. I missed that there should have been blurry face on Brad Gazan after the Junior Urso save.
Oh,
not surprised. I would have probably been yelling too if I made that kind of save. I would have absolutely been yelling all kinds of blurry face things.
Yeah.
No question. Man, I'm sorry. It's craziness on the Twitch pitch. The bots. So I think the bots are solved. I will go back and check that account when we shut down and make sure that it's blocked, because good grief. Yes, I was not seeing it because it just kept going so fast. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I let you down. I let you down. I will try to do better next time. How about that? Is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
That's about all I got today, to be honest. Tomorrow, we are back for a normal show. We'll also have the run-up in the evening, getting ready for Atlanta and the Red Bulls from one rivalry match to another. That's how things go right now. It's a huge game on Saturday. This afternoon, Marcelino Moreno, Carlos Bocanegra speaking to the media at 2 o'clock. Make sure you're following all your local favorites, and there will be plenty of quotes from that media availability. I'm assuming Stephen Glass will be speaking to the media tomorrow about the match on Saturday. They keep coming fast and furious, and we keep trying to as well. Sam asked if Moreno's trained with the first team yet. I don't know. I don't know his timeline on when he would be able to do that. I'm sure that will come up this afternoon, and we'll try to find out the answer for that for you tomorrow. But make sure you're following everybody today, and you'll get that answer ahead of that. Hopefully he has. I don't know. I mean, with the amount of games you're playing in a short period of time, and if he's fit, if there's not an injury concern with him playing, it might just be, hey, go do the best you can and fit in. You know the game. You've watched us play. You know how we play. We know what you do. Let's go figure it out together. That's where you're at right now. That's where this year is right now. And he is a quality enough player to step into a role like that. It's not ideal. It is what it is. Vamos Los Bravos. I agree. It's been good. Hopefully they can keep moving along. Fingers crossed. I don't want to be the cynical, well, I'm not going to be that. They've been good. Hopefully it continues. Hopefully some of that rubs off on the NFL team in town. We'll find out because it's not looking good these days. And hopefully Atlanta United can keep moving along. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We'll be back tomorrow. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.